Hi, I'm Ryan Gosling, and this is my recorded, autofill generated interview. Thank you. Okay. First up is the category of what is. What is Dawson's thoughts on the Fall Guy? That's not very grammatically correct. What is Dawson's thoughts? Shouldn't there be a question mark? Anyways, this isn't a question for me. This is a question for Dawson. So, take it away. Thanks for the intro, Ryan. What a nice guy, right? Dude, and I swear to God, every time I see him, he looks younger. Every single time. He ages in reverse, that guy. Anyways, the people asked, what are my thoughts on the Fall Guy? Well, I gotta hand it to my good pal Ryan. This is one of the best action comedies I've seen in a while. This movie focuses on a character known as Colt Seavers. He's a stuntman in Hollywood, and after an accident that left him with a broken back, he is getting back into the stunt world with a new movie in which his ex-lover is directing. When the producer of the film approaches him and tells him that the star of the movie is missing, without him, the movie will be canceled. He goes on a mission to find the star of this film to save the movie that his ex is directing so he could have possibly a second chance with her. The director of this film, David Leitch, does a really good job of centering these action comedies with heart. We see this in his other movies like Deadpool 2 or Bullet Train, especially for me in Deadpool 2, as the majority of that film revolves around Wade's love for Vanessa, even after she's gone, and how it has affected him. We can see his other tendencies to interlock everything together in things like Bullet Train. For those of you who've seen Bullet Train, you know that there is a lot of seemingly unrelated stories that all come together in one big finale that all makes sense. And this is that on a smaller scale. There's definitely a lot of twists and turns in this movie, just not to the level of Bullet Train. The two main actors in this movie, Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, are just great. Their chemistry together is 10 times better than I thought it would be. Not that I doubt either of their acting abilities, because we've seen it before, but I was just really surprised how well they actually worked together.
You are literally the last person on earth I want to see slap the shit out of you. I really could.
And I'm open to that in a safer environment.
My favorite part of this movie are definitely the scenes where they have their banter and they're interacting with each other. They play off each other so well, and I honestly would watch 4 more of these movies just surrounding around them. Speaking of their banter, we should get into the comedy portion of this action comedy. This is really funny. It's a really funny movie. When I think action comedy in the past decade and stuff, think about movies like Jumanji or The Lost City or Jumanji 2 or I don't even know. There's just so many. They have a thing with jungles, don't they? Those movies. They just love putting buff men and attractive women in jungles and making them tell jokes. This really sets itself apart from a lot of other action comedies that I've seen because there feels like more of a heart to it. One of my least favorite thing about movies in general is when it just follows one genre and it kind of doesn't matter what else is going on in the movie. So my best example of this is early Mission Impossible movies, right? To me, those just feel like action movies. It's not really about the characters or about the plot building. It's just I'm a spy and I'm gonna go take some people down. Or Taken, for example. His daughter gets taken, but then it's just an hour and a half of him beating up people until he finds his daughter. This movie feels very different to me because everything in this movie is very clearly motivated by Ryan Gosling's character's love for Emily Blunt's character. And it's just a really nice thing to see. It's a role that Ryan Gosling really plays well, as we see he played Ken in Barbie. Everything, all of his motivations were fueled by his obsession with Barbie. It's kind of similar in this movie. The actual humor in this is so unique because it's very I don't want to say stupid, but it is very stupid. One of the friends I went to see this with made a comment about how it kind of reminded him of Fast and Furious, except it knew that it was stupid, which is an interesting opinion because I kind of agree that these action movies are stupid, no matter what. Like, even the newest Mission Impossible, which I thought was great, he jumped off of a mountain on a bike to land on a train. That's crazy. But again, people are still watching it and we're still having fun, and I like that the Fall Guy acknowledges that this is stupid in a meta way and just kind of leans into it. Something about one of the scenes in the movie where Ryan Gosling is leaving a club and he is intoxicated, let's say. And just the way that he plays it is really funny to me. This is probably the best scene in the movie for action and comedy mixing. The way that it kind of explains how almost unnatural he is when it comes to fighting and chasing people at this moment, just because he's intoxicated. It works, it kind of grounds it, but it also makes it more absurd. And just, I don't know, it leaves. There's a joke there. There's a joke with leaves. Like fall guy, fall leaves, like autumn leaves. What was I talking about? There's so many jokes here that are just so random. Like, there's unicorns in this movie. There are dogs that only speak French. There's just a lot of random stuff going on. And it's just so funny. And I really like that about this movie, is that it doesn't take itself seriously. And it's therefore able to do so many more things. And it just works. That being said, there's one thing in this movie that they play off for comedic effect for most of the time, but it's also probably, I would say, one of the most important messages of the movie. This is getting a little bit into spoiler territory, so you might want to just skip ahead a minute or two if you don't want any spoilers, but it's only minor. So, in the stunt world, when they're done with a stunt and they have, completed the action, done the cannon roll, or jumped out the window, whatever they need to do, it's typically protocol to give a thumbs up to let them know you're okay. And throughout the movie, Ryan Gosling's character does this. He's constantly giving thumbs up every time he gets hurt, whatever. It's just like his character's trademark. And he talks about later in the movie how he was always trained to just give a thumbs up, right? Whenever he gets hurt, whenever that. So after the accident, which ended up splitting up him and Emily Blunt, he didn't want to show her that he wasn't okay. He didn't want her to be around a version of him who couldn't just give the thumbs up. And I think this is, yet again, another one of Ryan Gosling's characters that kind of touches on some of the toxic expectations of masculine behavior in our society. With Ken, it was about the expectations of men and how they're supposed to just be whatever, like be big and strong, and sometimes you just gotta be you and like not worry about it. This kind of goes into that same vein where it's like how some people are uncomfortable with men crying or sharing their emotions, and that's something that we got to really as a society get used to, that it's not always just a thumbs up from the guys. Not to say that it doesn't go the same way for women, because it absolutely does, but this movie touches more on the men's side than the women. The action in this movie is very similar to Bullet Train. I don't know how many of you have seen Bullet Train. It's this director's last film, and it's a great movie. I highly recommend it. The color grading in it is fantastic. The actors are all great. It's a really cool movie. And this reminds me very much of that type of action where it's almost realistic, but in the same way it's super dumb, right? So let me try and explain myself, because I say things and they don't make sense most of the time. Ryan Gosling is a stuntman in this movie, and he knows how to fight with stunt choreography, but he hasn't actually been in like any real fights. He's not like a trained veteran or anything, or a farmer who lost his pig. That was a really obscure reference, but there's a super dark action movie like John Wick where Nicolas Cage gets angry someone took his pig. That's besides the point. A lot of the fighting in this movie is kind of using objects around him and doing things that would be realistic for a stuntman to know how to do. For example, in one scene, this girl goes to hit him with a sword, and he just tosses a blanket over her so she can't see. He's not doing any actual, like, beating up. he's just kind of putting out the situation and trying to avoid it as much as he can. He also uses a lot of prop weapons that he would understand how to use because of his stuntman background. He fires guns that only use blanks, and he hits people with fake weapons like a fake axe or things like that. So he uses a lot of things that he's familiar with to fight people in a way that he may not be familiar with. And I think that that's really an interesting way of doing things. Altogether, I thought this movie was great. The visuals were awesome. Had a lot of great acting. Ryan Gosling in this movie is just as you would expect Ryan Gosling. There isn't anything like super special he brings to this role, but he's just so good at playing these characters that it just is so enjoyable to watch. And I would say Emily Blunt might be the MVP of this movie, the way that she portrays her anger and her swaying in emotions towards Gosling's character, and just the way that they are able to play off each other is, like I said before, something I could watch again and again. Not to say Gosling didn't make me laugh hysterically, because he did. He's just playing Ryan Gosling, kind of how Ryan Reynolds plays Ryan Reynolds, and it's not a bad thing, but if you're looking for something new from Gosling, this isn't exactly the movie you are going to get that in. All in all, I loved the movie. I would probably give it an 8 or 9 out of 10. I would definitely see it again, and I probably will with my family. So I recommend seeing it on a biggest screen as you can, because there's a lot of cool stunts in this movie. That's all I got right now on the Fall Guy, but I will I'll have another video up sometime in the next week. Please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. I really would like some more subscribers. Once I can get up to 500, I can get a partner program, make some of that cheddar cheese. That'd be awesome. So subscribe, please, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.